All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down PFL Week 4 for 2024. And the fight card does start in just over an hour and 20 minutes, I think 5 p.m. Eastern time. I just finished taping, just finished all my notes, all my breakdowns. So I apologize for the late show, but I wanted to put out something, maybe talk some fights. If you guys want to hop in the comments, talk them with me, that could be a good time. So let's hop right into it. We don't have much time to waste. First fight up, we've got Sumiko Inaba versus Saray Orozco. Inaba, she's going to be 6-1-0. She's 33 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. On the other side, Orozco, she's going to be 8-5-0. She's 33 years old as well. She's going to be 1 inch taller, and she's going to have a 1 inch reach advantage. So for me, I think there's a lot of value on Orozco here. Personally, I often have been trying to fade Inaba. I think that she's good, but I think she's overrated, and her line is usually super inflated because of that. I don't know what it is. I guess because Bellator was pushing her so hard, and I don't see how she covers. Like, what is she, minus 500, minus 4? She's minus 450. Now, I don't understand how she covers that. I guess I can see it if she gets her grappling going early and often, but A, she hasn't really been doing that too much, and B, Orozco's takedown defense, I can't get a good read on it. You know, the last time it really got tested was against Murata in 2019, and she got subbed, but when she was taken down, she got up pretty quickly, and since then, I mean, it's been, what, 4 years now, 5 years, so I have to think it might have improved, and at plus 350, I'm willing to take that risk, because outside of the grappling, on the feet, I don't understand. Like, if this is a 15-minute striking match, I don't see a world where Inaba can cover minus 450. Like, that's insane, because Orozco is also a pretty good striker. Everything Inaba does on the feet, Orozco does it too. Like, the combinations for both are pretty good. Both are throwing straight down the pipe. Both have pretty decent kicks, but I actually think Orozco has got a better kicking game than Inaba does. And Inaba doesn't really separate. Neither does Orozco, to be completely honest. But again, she's plus 350. You know, she's not the one who's minus 450. I don't want to bet a minus 450 who's not separating, who's getting like hit a lot on the feet by Nadine Mandow, who's 2-5-0, and she had to go to her grappling there, you know? So for me, it was a pretty easy click on Orozco. I played it very small, you know, because I will say that Inaba's probably a slightly better mixed martial artist if you put everything together, especially with that grappling. So I understand her being a favorite, don't understand her being minus 450. So I played Orozco plus 350 just to win 1 unit. So it's like a 0.3 unit stake. If she loses, she loses. But I think that she's very live here. So I took the underdog shot, and we can move on. Next up, we've got Juliana Velasquez versus Lisa Mauldin. Velasquez is 12-3-0. All 3 of her last fights have been against Carmouche, and she lost all 3. She's 37 at this point. She's 5'8" with a 67.5-inch reach. On the other side, Mauldin, 6-4-0. She's 34, so she's 3 years younger, 1 inch shorter, and she's going to be at a 1 inch reach disadvantage. This should be Velasquez all day. I mean, it's hard to get behind her at minus 500 just because, you know, you see her last few performances against Carmouche. Not exactly the best in the world, but again, Carmouche is a significantly better mixed martial artist than Mauldin. She's a significantly better grappler than Mauldin, so I don't really think you can compare those. Velasquez should be fine here. She's a great striker. She's got good output, nice clean down the pipe, good combinations. I like what I'm seeing from her on the feet. Mauldin is horrible on the feet. She's not a great striker by any means. She's extremely hittable. She is actually a pretty good grappler. I'll give her that much. She's got some decent takedowns, even took down Decheva, but you know, I don't really see that working on Velasquez here. Maybe she gets a takedown or two. Do I think she does too much with it? I don't really see it. So I think that Velasquez can keep this on the feet and piece up Mauldin as the fight goes on, because I don't think Mauldin can compete with her on the feet. Now, let me hop on with these guys over here real quick. We got VTech. What's good, brother? Let's go indeed. My guy, AMD. What's up, my brother? And Shelter955 saying, what is the legal recourse for us when UFC 303? You know, I don't think there's anything, to be honest. It just sucks. You know, I feel really bad for the people who have tickets for 303. It's looking more and more clear that Conor's not pulling up. Maybe this is all some kind of elaborate promotion scheme. I don't know, but it really sucks to be somebody holding those $1,000 nosebleed tickets, and now you're not even seeing Conor fight, and the rest of the card is pretty garbage. And I'm hearing they're going to replace it with Chandler versus Oliveira too, which is a lot of fun, but that's not $1,000 nosebleed seats kind of main event. So yeah, feel bad for them. My guy Dogfather, yeah, I love PFL. If you guys know me, I like to push PFL. I think it would be good for MMA for them to be a good promotion, but recently it's been hard to get behind them, to be completely honest. The way that they've been treating certain fighters, the way that they like Don Davis, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the guy. I'll be completely honest. I don't think he's doing a very good job. And the way he talks about fighters is just, it's not great for a promoter of the co-leader promotion. So let's move on in this card though. Next up, I don't know if I said it, but I think Velasquez wins. I think she probably covers, maybe even gets a finish, but I don't think I'm touching that fight. All right, next up, we've got Danilo Marques versus Tim Johnson. Marques is 15-5-0. He's 38 years old, 6'6" with a 77.5-inch reach. Johnson on the other side, 17-9-0. He's 39, so he's 1 year older. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, but he'll have a half-inch reach advantage here. So going into this one, I thought, like, when I first saw the line, Marques was like plus 200, plus 180, something along those lines. And I thought maybe there's some value there. Tim Johnson at this point, he's 39. He's fought for a long time. I think he's taken some wear and tear, a lot of damage. But then I taped it and I don't see it. I also considered the under. I think there still might be some value there. And the limits on it are higher than, if you try to play Tim Johnson, the knockout prop. I think the limit is $100, but you got higher limits if you go with the under. The under, I think, is sitting at minus 125. But the reason I didn't play it is I think it's pretty predicated on Tim Johnson getting the knockout, because I don't really see how Marques does this. Tim Johnson, he's a pretty good striker. He's a better wrestler, I would say. His wrestling is actually pretty good, but his striking, very wild and very easy to counter. But the issue is Marques the type of guy to come out here and counter? Does he have clean, nice, crisp counters? No, he doesn't at all. His hands are pretty limited. He's got a few straight strikes down the pipe, but really he's not doing much. The front kick is like his main weapon, and I don't really think that's going to do anything against Tim Johnson. His strength tends to be the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, but is it going to be enough against Tim Johnson? Again, I don't think so. I don't really see him taking down Johnson. I don't really see him subbing Johnson. So for me, I think Tim's going to come out here. Danilo's super hittable. His chin's up in the air, and I think he's going to crack him. I mean, Marcelo Nunes is not a good fighter. He's not a great striker, and he finished Marques on the feet. I don't see why Tim Johnson can't. So I'm going to pick Tim Johnson by knockout. No play from me there. All right. Next up, we've got Ilara Joanne versus Shanna Young. Joanne, she's going to be 11-9-0. She's 30 years old, 5'3" with a 64-inch reach. On the other side, Young, 9-6-0. She's going to be 33, so she's 3 years older. She's going to be 4 inches taller, and she's going to be at a 1-inch reach advantage. So going into this one, I thought I would play Shanna Young. In post-tape, I still considered it. Like, I'm still thinking about it. Even now, I'm still thinking about playing Shanna Young, but I don't know if I can quite get there. For me, it comes down to this. Like, Ilara Joanne, she's a decent striker, but at range, she's pretty deficient because of that reach is so short. So she's not really good at range. Once she crashes the pocket, she's pretty good. She's got some fast hands and some nice counters, decent amount of power. At the face-offs, Young was taller, but Joanne's arms looked big, So I think she does hit pretty hard, and she's got decent grappling that she'll rely on here and there. She got decent takedowns. The control isn't that great, and she doesn't do that much with the takedowns. Now, on the Shanna Young side, her striking, I think at range, she's better. I do think she's the better striker at range. Her hands are pretty good when she lets them go, but the output with the hands is pretty low. Her output is better with the feet. She's throwing a lot of kicks, and they're okay. I think she's got a decent kicking game. But is it going to be enough to keep Joanne at range where Shanna Young should be better? I don't know. I feel like because of the way she strikes, and because she's not throwing too many hands, I think Joanne can get up close where she's going to be more comfortable. I don't know that Joanne's going to have much success with the grappling, because the people out grappling Shanna Young are pretty high level compared to Joanne. And even then, Shanna Young showing some flashes of good takedown defense. So I think she can keep it up on the feet. And if she just throws more, I think she's live to win this fight. But she let Lovato get ahead of her on the strike count by a significant margin. And she depended on the wrestling there, which she doesn't do often, Shanna Young. And I don't know if she's going to get takedowns here against Joanne, maybe. But for me, it's a very close fight. I wouldn't be comfortable laying chalk on either of them. I think either one at dog odds is the play if you're going to make a play. And the underdog is Shanna Young sitting at plus 105. So I'm thinking maybe I'll get there. I think it's a decent dog shot. I think it's a close fight, but I might also just pass because I can see Ilara being able to outwork Shanna because Shanna won't throw too much on the feet. But I'll pick Shanna Young to win. Moving on, we've got Marcelo Golm versus Tyrell Fortune, I think. Golm is 10-5-0. He's 31 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Fortune, he's 13-2-0, 33 years old. He's 2 years older. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, but he's going to be at a 2-inch reach advantage. So for me, if you've watched my stuff before, you know I'm not very high on Tyrell Fortune, but I'm not really high on Marcelo Golm either. And I thought I was going to pass, but then I watched the tape and I was like, you know what? I think Fortune has a decent chance of covering. I think he's a decent parlay piece. And that's what I ended up doing. I parlayed him with someone we're going to talk about soon, Popov. I put them together for one unit at plus 131, I think. So here's the way I see it. Neither guy's a good striker. Neither one. Golm is okay. I think Golm is a little bit better on the feet than Tyrell because I think Tyrell throws a lot of wide strikes. He gets a little bit sloppy, but Golm, he doesn't really have great counters. He's not very fast. So I don't know if he's going to really take advantage of that. And I think that Marcelo Golm, while he's got decent wrestling and he's got decent jiu-jitsu, I'm seeing Moise over here saying Golm submission. What's good, Moise? It's been a minute since I've seen you around. And I can understand it, but I think Fortune's got pretty good takedown defense. So then how's Golm going to get the sub? I assume the thought is that either A, he gets his own takedowns, which I don't really think so, or that he reverses position, which we have seen with Fortune in the, who was it? It was my guy Linton, I believe, right? Yeah, with Linton, he got reversed multiple times. But still, you know, Linton Vassell's a good wrestler. I know recently he hasn't looked great, but this is like 2 years back? Yeah, 2.5 years back. Vassell, in my opinion, is a beast. He's a great wrestler. And, you know, Fortune was able to take him down plenty there. He did get reversed, but I don't know that Golm is going to be able to do that. He's not as explosive. I've seen Golm thrown around by, what's his face? We're going to talk about him soon. Davion Franklin. I mean, Franklin Fireman carried him. Franklin threw him up into the air. It wasn't a great look, and I think Fortune's a significantly better wrestler than Davion Franklin. So I think that Fortune can get takedowns here. I think he can do good work from top position. And with Golm, I don't know if he's an underdog, so it's easier to, you know, trust him, I guess. But the last fight with my guy Daniel James, you know, I had James there. I did think he can get a KO, but it was just a very weird exchange. I didn't really understand what happened there. You know, Golm got the takedown. He's in control. James gets up, then somehow gets his own takedown in a really weird way. And then Golm just sits there while James pounds him out and gets the TKO. It was a very, very weird exchange, and it's hard to trust Golm. So I think Fortune should pull it off. I understand why people might be interested in a Golm dog shot. I don't hate it, but I think Fortune can cover minus 170. So I took the shot and I parlayed him up with Popov, who we're going to talk about next. So next up, we've got Oleg Popov versus Davion Franklin. Popov is 17-1-0. He's 32 years old, 6'1", and we do not have his reach. Franklin, he's going to be 6'2-0. He's 29, so he's 3 years younger, 2 inches taller, and he's got a long reach. He's got an 80-inch reach. So for me, Franklin's another guy who I've never been high on, and I'm still not high on him. I think he's pretty terrible, to be completely honest. Popov, I'm not super high on either, just because I think the striking is pretty limited. He really doesn't throw his hands much, and the output is horrible. When he is using his hands, it's pretty good. You know, he's not really going crazy. He's got clean shots, but he's just not throwing a lot. He goes straight for the wrestling, so it's very easy to predict, and it's very easy to see it coming. Now, can Franklin stop the takedowns? Maybe the first few, but I do think Popov will get them as the fight goes on. Franklin does more on the feet, and I actually don't hate his striking. Decent jab, decent 1-2. Very hittable, though, so I can see Popov getting counters if he just uses those hands. But I can see him getting the takedowns. I can see him controlling Franklin. I can see him outworking him. I think his cardio is better. Franklin gasses really, really hard. So for me, I think this is a Popov spot. I did parlay him up, like I mentioned, with Tyrell Fortune, and I think it's a decent parlay. Nothing crazy, but yeah, I think he's a good spot. Let's see what we got going off over here. VTech said he loves Fortune in this spot, especially with Golm coming in on short notice. I agree. I think Golm's got pretty bad cardio. Fortune also not the best cardio, but I think it's a little bit better. You know, in the Vassell fight, it was a really heavy pace, really just nonstop. And, you know, he looked okay in the third round. So I think he's got the better cardio. Golm did seem to quit in that last fight. That's why I can't get behind him. And Davion round one or bust. I agree. The dude gasses so hard. And if Popov pushes a wrestling heavy pace, I can see Franklin just falling apart. All right, moving on. We've got Taila Santos versus Jena Bishop. This is a cool fight. Santos is 23-0. She's 30 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Bishop 7-0. She's undefeated, 38 years old. She's 8 years older, 2 inches shorter, and she's going to have a 1.5-inch reach disadvantage. You know, this is tough. Santos is minus 500, so it's hard. You can't really get there. What are you going to do with it? You're going to parlay it. You're going to have to use like 4 or 5 legs, and I just don't like 4 or 5 legs parlays. I almost did it, but I was like, Mike, we've seen this time and time again. We've learned our lesson. Let's not do that. So I'm not going to parlay her up. But here, I do think she should cover. Maybe not minus 500, but the way I see it is Bishop really relies on that grappling, right? And she's got that judo background, so she got nice throws and trips. But are throws and trips going to work on Taila Santos? I don't think so. I think Santos has really good takedown defense, and I think Bishop will struggle to take her down. And I think that Santos can get her own takedowns. And I think her jiu-jitsu is good enough where she can defend any subs coming from Bishop. Bishop has really good jiu-jitsu, good arm bars, whatnot. But I don't really think that'll work on Santos. And on the feet, I don't think it's quite close. Bishop is terrible on the feet. She throws everything with a loop. She ducks her head down into shots. It wouldn't be crazy for me if Santos can knock her out, because I think Santos on the feet is leagues ahead of Bishop, and it's not even quite close. So maybe like a Santos knockout prop, that could be interesting. Again, on Bet Online, the limits are garbage. For me, that doesn't really matter. My unit is, my units are $100, so I can put it down, but I don't want to track it because if someone has bigger units, they can't tail it. Santos is sitting at plus 250. I might throw something on there, but it won't be a tracked bet. Moyes saying Jena might do what Aaron did, pin her to the fence, no elbows allowed in the clinch. Yeah, I could possibly see it, but I think Aaron is a better striker than Jena. I think Bishop's striking is so bad. And yeah, no elbows in the PFL. All right, so we can move on. I'm going to go with Santos. I think maybe even a Santos KO, but I'm not going to play it. Probably not. Liz Carmouche versus Kana Watanabe. This is a rematch. PFL loves their unnecessary rematches for whatever reason. Dogfather saying Santos under 2.5. I don't hate it, but at the same time, I can see them killing the clock too with the grappling. So I'm staying away. Now, Carmouche, she is 21-7-0. She's 40 years old, but she still looked in good form recently. She's 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. On the other side, Kana Watanabe, 13-2-1. She's 35, so she's 5 years younger, going to be the same height and have the same reach. Last time they fought, Carmouche put her out really early, just came in heavy with the strikes. Kana has absolutely zero striking defense, and Carmouche was able to get her out of there immediately. Watching back the tape, I was shocked. Honestly, is no one teaching this woman 13-2-1? Is no one telling her how to defend strikes? She has no striking defense at all. She's a punching bag, and her own striking is awful too. She can't strike to save her life. So she's super dependent on her grappling. Also a judo heavy fighter. She's using trips and throws. Is that going to work on Carmouche? I don't think so. So where is she beating Carmouche here outside of like a sub from bottom, maybe an armbar or whatnot? I don't really know where she wins. So I think that Carmouche, while the price is kind of crazy for a 40-year-old, I think she should probably cover. She's a better striker. I'm not high on her striking either, but compared to Kana, I mean, she's top notch compared to her. And I can see her being able to do work on the feet. I can see her getting her own takedowns. I think she survives any submission attempts from Watanabe. And I think she wins either a decision or she can get a finish too. I actually considered the under sitting at plus 160, the under 2.5. I think that Carmouche can finish, probably a KO or maybe even a sub. And I think that Kana, there's probably some percentage she can lock up a sub. So the under at plus money makes some sense. I'm not getting there, I don't think, because again, I think the grappling might kill the clock. But I do like Carmouche in this spot. I think she should win it. Moving on. This is such an unnecessary fight. I don't understand what's going on. Denis Goltsov versus Thiago Santos. Goltsov is 33, 8-0. He's 34 years old, 6'5" with a 78-inch reach. On the other side, Santos, he's 22, 12-0. Terrible run as of late. He's 40 years old, so he's 6 years older. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, and he's at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Now, I saw their face-offs at ceremonials, and it was absolutely crazy. Goltsov is huge. I mean, he's gigantic compared to Thiago. It's not even close. Like, I was going to say, it looks like they're in different weight classes, and they are. They are in different weight classes. Santos used to be a light heavyweight. He used to be a light heavyweight. Now he's fighting at heavyweight for whatever reason. And I just think that Goltsov should roll here. I mean, Santos, as of late, his takedown defense is horrible. He looks slow. He still has the power. Power tends to be the last thing to go, but he's not throwing much. The output isn't there. The urgency isn't there. The explosiveness isn't there. The speed isn't there. I don't know what he has left to offer, really. I think that Goltsov can get takedowns. I think Goltsov can have a lot of success on the feet. Goltsov can be a little bit flaky, so it's hard to trust him at whatever it is, minus 450, minus 500. I think it's even minus 600 now. Let me check. Minus 550. It was minus 650 on FanDuel, minus 600 on DraftKings, minus 650 on DraftKings. Yeah, it's hard to get there, but like Moise is saying, Goltsov might just kill him. So gonna move on. Maybe like I think what the under is like not badly priced, honestly. It's under 2.5 is minus 125. But again, it kind of feels like it's predicated on a Goltsov ITD, but the ITD is the same. It's minus 130 for his ITD, so you can just play that minus 125. So for me, it's a Goltsov spot. Maybe the under makes sense. I'm still considering it. I have about an hour left to decide, and we'll see if I get there. I don't know that I will. All right. Next up, we've got our co-main event. We got Dakota Ditcheva versus Chelsea Hackett. Ditcheva 11-0. She's undefeated. 25 years old. She's 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Hackett on the other side, 4-2-1. She's 24, so she's 1 year younger. 5'4". She's 4 inches shorter, and she's at a 4-inch reach disadvantage. Not going to waste my time here. I like Hackett in general. I'm a fan just because she was on the Australian Survivor, and that's one of my favorite shows of all time, and it was cool to see that. But in terms of fighting, she's a decent fighter, but she's not on Ditcheva's level. I think Ditcheva runs through her. I think she knocks her out. I think she knocks her out early. There's no way to play it. Everything is chalk to hell, but I think Ditcheva should easily win this one. Did you parlay the over here? Because that is a terrifying thought. Ditcheva ITD, yeah, but it's like minus what, 450, 500? All right, moving on. We've got our main event. We've got Valentin Moldavsky versus Linton Vassell. This is their third fight. Moldavsky won the first one by decision. Vassell knocked him out in the second, and now they're meeting for a third fight. Moldavsky 13-3-0. He's 32, 6'1" at the 75-inch reach. Vassell 24-9-0. He's 41, so he's 9 years older, 3 inches taller, and he's going to be at a 5-inch reach advantage. I love Vassell. If you've watched my stuff before, I'm a huge, huge fan of him. I just think he's awesome. He comes out. He's always explosive, powerful, puts up a good fight. He's a good wrestler. But what was that last performance, man? I know he's not usually a cardio machine, but I mean, he's been able to compete in longer fights. He's been able to look decent in round threes. And last time out, it was just horrible. It was horrible. I had a bet on him there. He looked fantastic in the first round, got that takedown, controlled almost the entire round. I was like, all right, here we go. We're looking good. And then he just falls apart completely and gets finished, I believe, in the third round. But here, it's tough to get behind him again. After seeing that, he is 41. It does seem like he's fading. He always has been pretty hittable, a little bit chinny, and he can be taken down too. His takedown defense is really good, but I think Moldavsky can get takedowns, especially as the fight goes on in the second and third. I think they'll come easy. On the feet, I think Moldavsky's the cleaner, better striker. I think Vassell's got the power advantage. Can Vassell catch him? Absolutely. That's why I didn't even think about betting Moldavsky here, because at minus 310, it's a silly price to pay when Vassell's already bonked him once. And Vassell, while he is 41, while he isn't looking in top form, usually power is one of the last things to go. So I can see him catching Moldavsky. And at the end of the day, like we've seen in their fights, when Moldavsky's getting the takedowns, Vassell is pretty quick to get back up. And I think that if Moldavsky does that early, Vassell gets back up. I think he keeps it competitive in the first, and then Moldavsky takes over. I think he might get a finish in the later rounds, but I wouldn't be shocked if Vassell caught him. So I'm going to pick Moldavsky. I'm not playing anything here. There's just nothing to do with this. So that's going to be the pick. And yeah, that's it, guys. Able to do it in 25 minutes, 11 fights, PFL 4 on in just under an hour. Good luck to everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for joining me, talking to me in the chat. Yeah, the good old days over here. ITD at plus 100. Imagine. But yeah, guys, good luck this weekend. Make sure you check out my UFC breakdown that I did on Tuesday. That is out. If you don't like long form podcasts, you prefer short videos, I did put up UFC shorts for every single fight, except for the Ikram fight, because why even bother? So you can check those out. They're 1 minute each, sometimes even shorter. As you can tell, I talk really fast, so I'm able to get a decent bit of information in. And that's going to be it, guys. Thank you all once again. Peace out and good luck. Let's get it.